as people trickle in. So as you all know, we always record these. So welcome to Tech Talks for today, August 26th. Next slide, please. And today, for today's Tech Talk, we're going to be focusing on the NEMSIS data cube. The presentation is going to be facilitated by Benjamin Fisher, who has an MPA, NRP, and currently works for NEMSIS. And he'll give you some more details about himself in a minute. Next slide, please. As always, we're going to follow the same group norm we've been following for a decade. All skills and levels are welcome. Your participation is encouraged on this virtual phone or on the actual phone. I'll be monitoring the chat box, so if you have any questions or comments, I'll make sure to get them to Ben if he doesn't see them. Remember, if you are on the phone, mute it and not put it on hold. And it's been a minute since we've done anything on NEMSIS Data Cube, so I'm pretty excited about it. So let's have some fun and try to enjoy ourselves for the next half hour. Now, the time will be announced at about 20 minutes past the hour, just to make sure that we get you out of here in time. So let's get started. Next slide, please. Oh, and Benjamin, you can start.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Eddie. So like Eddie said, my name is Ben Fisher. I've been with NEMSIS now for a little while. Before this, I worked for the Arizona Department of Health. And so I am familiar with the EMS for Children program. I actually worked with Julia on it. So I titled this the NEMSIS Data Cube for Busy EMS for Children program managers. I know it's kind of a quick talk, and I think I just want to make sure that mostly you all are kind of familiar that it's there and where to go for resources if you have additional questions about it. So we'll just talk about what the cube is, how to access it. I'll run through kind of a simple query to show you all what that looks like, and then where additional resources are on our website. So I think Eddie emailed this out on Monday, but were any of you able to log in to the NEMSIS cube? It's okay, you don't have to talk if you just want to raise your hand. I know talking on recorded Zooms can be intimidating. All right, well, we're going to go over kind of what this looks like. I think that sometimes there can be kind of a barrier to logging in. I think honestly, logging into the cube is probably one of the more challenging parts of using this. And then we'll show you what it actually looks like. So without further ado, we will switch to a live demo. And I'm going to show you kind of where on our website all of these resources are located. So I'm just going to switch over to my web browser here real quick. All right, so if you go to the NEMSIS website, so first of all, the NEMSIS website, a little weird, doesn't have a www in front of it, it's just nemsis.org. And go to view reports. You can find all of the EMS Data Cube information under view reports EMS Data Cube. And this has all the information about both of our data cubes that are available. So the some things to keep in mind. So you'll be connecting to the public data cube right now, and the login information is just NEMSIS public, and NEMSIS at TAC is the password after you click this red button. There are YouTube videos below this about how to construct some queries and log in. They're kind of helpful if you need a quick reminder about how to do some of the things we talk about. And then there's a couple documents here that I'll talk a little bit more about. So this first one that I'll talk about is this supplemental guide to the EMS Data Cube. So if any of you have poked around with the NEMSIS data, our data dictionary can be a little overwhelming. It's about 600 data elements and is designed for vendors and the research data set and the cube. So it tends to be very technical. So we've provided a supplemental guide that's designed just for the cube that's a little more plain language. In the table of contents, you'll be able to see all of the measures that are in the data cube, as well as what the definitions are in plain English without the kind of numeric codes behind them. There are links to the formal data dictionary in this document as well if you need more information. So you can see for cardiac arrest, you'll see sort of where it's located in the cube, some notes about the element, and then what values are available within the cube. So this is a good reference while you're constructing a query, or if you're looking to try and figure out where something is.
Hey, Ben, how do I, if we wanted to get to that, how would we get to it, to that
So
data dictionary?
the big data dictionary?
The one that you just shared with us?
Yeah, so it's right here on that NEMSIS cube page under the resources. There's 2 PDFs. So it's this V3 dictionary supplemental guide to the EMS data cube.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so without further ado, let's talk a little bit about logging into the cube. So like I said, I think this is kind of the biggest barrier to using the cube. So after you click this big red button that says connect, you'll be taken to the login screen. And this is where you enter the login information just above it for the public cube. So that's NEMSIS public and NEMSIS at tag. And then weirdly enough, you just get presented with this blank screen, which is expected. That's good. So from the blank screen, you'll just go up to the pen and paper where it says design. And once you click that, you have to click OLAP report. So the type of cube that this lives in is called an OLAP cube. So we're going to make an OLAP report. And then you have to click connect to the cube. And then you're going to select the cube. So just a quick note about these 2 cubes. So when I say 2 cubes, there is a version 2 and a version 3. Version 3 is from 2017 to present, and version 2 is about 2009 to 2016. There are different data standards for each of those, and crossing that 2017 year can present some challenges. So if that's something, if you need data prior to 2017, please reach out to the NEMSIS TAC. We're happy to talk about that. It's a little difficult if you want to cross years. But for this purpose, we'll select the V3 cube. It's got a much richer data set. There's a lot more information available. And when it's selected, it will be red, and you just click OK. All right, now we're in the cube. So this might look a little familiar because it's basically the same technology as an Excel pivot table. So really what you're looking at is an Excel pivot table in a web interface. At the top, there's some buttons that will allow you to do additional things, and we'll talk about more of these options. But if you hover over them, it will give you the tooltip to tell you what it actually does. But you can make graphs from here. You can filter results further. You can show top results, add percentages, some other things like that. And most importantly, and we'll talk more about this, you can export your query. So once you have created a table, you can export that table into Excel or as a PDF. Any questions so far? Okay, please feel free to jump into the chat or raise your hand if you guys have any questions. So to turn something on that we want to measure, you have 2 options. So we calculate average times, and we also calculate a summary count. So we'll just turn on count by selecting it, and you'll see it appears down here in this measures box. And there are 147.7 million events from 2017 to present. So plenty of data to play with. As we start to add elements, you'll start to see this table expand. So one of the things I'm usually interested in first is changes over time. So if you expand any of these dropdowns for any of these elements, you'll see the child elements underneath. And we're going to add a year element to a column. And if you check it, it will automatically go to row. And then you can move it over to columns. And now we have from 2017 to 2020, how many EMS activations there are with each year as a column. So that's a good start. But we probably want to measure something within a row. And because this is EMS for children, probably patient age would be of interest. Again, if you're hunting for a variable to try and measure, you can refer to that supplemental guide that will tell you where everything is. But we'll come down to patient demographics and select patient age. So now patient age appears in this table, and we can actually select the plus in the table to expand it. And you'll see that this will take a little bit of time because there's a lot of data behind it, but this should expand, and we have created category groupings for age. So the first set to expand will just say pediatric, adult, and then some other options. And you can continue to expand those as well to get all the way down to individual years from 0 to whatever you'd like. We do calculate the age by year. So if you're interested in patients less than 1 year, they will just appear as age 0. So for this, I'll just expand pediatric again, and you can see we have the groupings of 0 to 10, 11 to 17. 18 is tucked away in adult. Okay, so now we kind of have this sample that we're interested in, but let's try and find something we're actually interested in. So the way we can filter for some of these is if you drag anything with an ICD-10 code or name in it to filter, that will allow you to filter those results to just those ICD-10 codes. So let's go ahead and add ICD-10 name to filters. So now it hasn't filtered anything yet, but you can see we're going to select injury cause ICD-10 name. And the easiest way to do this if you want multiple ICD-10 codes or names is to select this very small little checkbox. Let me actually make some of this bigger, so hopefully it's a little easier to see. That will allow you to multi-select values. And now when you select this small blue arrow, it will bring up the filter list so that you can select an individual ICD-10 code name. It's a pretty big list. It might take a minute to load, but this will allow you to actually filter by multiple ICD-10 codes for injury.
Well, that is loading, Ben. So on the data dictionary, you can see those ICD-10 codes that are available to you.
So it will allow any valid ICD-10 code. Something that's kind of important to note is we split injury and then other ICD-10 codes will be in either primary impression, symptom, or secondary impression or symptom. So if you're looking for an injury, that will be in a separate grouping that will say injury information, but it will allow any valid ICD-10 code. Now, the caveat to that is EMS tends to document very broad ICD-10 codes. So if you're looking for a specific type of arm fracture, you may only find a very generic code for arm fractures, not otherwise specified, or unspecified codes tend to be very popular. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for something very specific. So we'll look for, let's see here. So as you can see, there are a lot for these codes. So we'll try car accident, not otherwise specified, and car collision. So we'll select those 3. And again, this may take just a moment. The easiest way to reference ICD-10 codes, so if you're looking for a specific illness or injury, is honestly just Google. So there are several ICD-10 resources, ICD-10data.com, and then the CDC also has a ICD-10 CM lookup tool that you can use, and you can either search by code or by the text string after the code. All right, so now we filtered for those. You can see here the numbers went down pretty substantially for pediatric values. If you do want to see what codes are associated, you can add this as a row, the injury code, and it will add those injury codes for each pediatric category. So we're going to try it. Sometimes this can be kind of a big query, and I'm going to move it in front of patient age so that the injury codes appear left of patient age, and we're going to see if how that actually performs. It may take just a moment. While that's running, I have snuck some other results into a different query over here, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about some things to keep in mind when you do these queries. Is You have to remember these are all EMS activations, so they do include things like both cancellations. If 911 was activated and the ambulance pulled out of the garage and then got canceled, those are in the large sample. And we also include things other than 911 ground ambulances. So if you are only interested in 911 response or interfacility transfers, you may need to filter by those. So in this query, I used a field called patient disposition. And you can see here, anything with patient in the name means that a patient was contacted. So we excluded things like standby, public assists, or cancellations, and that will help reduce the number of missing values, not applicable or not recorded. And then the other one is, for this query, I was only interested in 911 response. So I picked the field type of service requested, and I'm only interested in 911 response. So I have filtered for that. So you can see those filters are available down here, and I've only got those selected.
Right. Ben, on the on this public cube, are the managers able to filter by geography, by their state, and at the state level, or are they
so that's
look at national?
That's a good question. So you may want to talk to the EMS data manager for each state. If you don't already have a relationship with them, they should have access to state level data. So that's a good point. So this public cube is all national data, and the smallest geographic region you can get to in the public cube is only census division, so multiple state groupings. But if you talk to your EMS data manager, and I'll just go back to the main NEMSIS website here real quick and show you, there's this big green map. So if you happen to not know who they are, you can select the state, and you'll see the name of the EMS data manager is listed with their email address, and you can reach out to them about potentially accessing the state specific data. All right, so it looks like our query updated. So I'm just going to expand this again. So this was the original query we were working on, where we filtered by ICD-10 code. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to expand by pediatric. So you can see now there are multiple ways you can sort of add columns, and it will create groupings within groupings. So right now, the injury information I filtered will allow, if I click expand, it will create 2 rows with the 2 ICD-10 codes that we had selected, and then break those down by age. If I reversed the order of these 2 rows, then it would allow you to break down pediatric by injury code. I think this one is probably going to take a little while, so I'm gonna move on. But just know that particularly large queries, or queries where you are multiple filters or multiple types of rows, can take a little while. So be patient, but they will eventually run. So now we've got our pretty table, but we want to save it to be able to hang on to it or show someone else. So up at the top with a couple of these buttons, you could chart this data. So if you click the chart button, I'm actually going to make this a little simpler just to make sure it runs quickly. If you click chart, it will bring up some options to actually make a graph right here in the cube. So if you would prefer to export this to Excel and do it that way, you certainly can, but you can also see by year here, the proportion of by age group in a graph. To actually export the data, the easiest way is export as Excel or CSV. You can also export as a PDF, and it will save this. The thing to remember, though, is once you download it as an Excel file, the table will become static, so you can't modify it. If you think that you're going to need to run this query again and update the table information in the future, there is a way by pressing this MDX button to see the code that generated this query. This is not something you need to know or edit. This is, designed to be behind the scenes, but it is a really convenient way to run this query again in the future. So if you copy and paste this, into the spreadsheet you've downloaded, you'll be able to run this query again by pasting it back into this field and pressing execute. And then it will run the exact same query that you had generated by clicking on these buttons on the left and update this data. The data in the cube is updated about every 2 weeks is a safe bet.
Ben, you've got about 8 minutes left.
Okay. So it's a safe bet that this information is typically very up to date. So you may want to update this monthly, and you could add week or day information. NEMSIS on the whole gets about 50% of our data within 2 weeks and 75% of our data within 30 days. So it does tend to be very timely in terms of national data. So that is the cube in a whirlwind overview. My hope with this is that you're able to both log in and know where to go to get additional resources. There's certainly, you can go into great depth with queries and generating some of these tables. So please do not feel like you are expected to follow along. And again, this will be posted on the website as a recording for you to try and recreate this later. NEMSIS TAC staff is also available. If you have a specific project and you think you need some additional assistance, please reach out to the TAC. There's contact information on our website, and we're happy to set up a one-on-one 30-minute tutorial with you to go over EMS Cube information related to a specific project. So with that, I'll kind of wrap things up, but we are more than happy to take questions. If there's something you would specifically like to look at, I'm happy to do that as well. Please feel free to type things into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and speak.
I had a question while folks are thinking, Ben.
Yeah.
I know this was a short, intro to NEMSIS, but I know that all of you do trainings as well. Do you archive any of those more specific walkthroughs on your website or on YouTube, or where they can yeah.
So we have so that's a good question. So we have a YouTube page. It's NEMSIS TAC, TAC, Technical Assistance Center. Pretty much any of our meetings or trainings are published there, usually within the same week. So we do have several CUBE trainings there. And then I think we've done one public CUBE training this year that has also been posted there. That's a pretty good resource. Yeah, I don't know that I think that's the only CUBE training we've done this year. But yes, all of our videos should be on our YouTube page.
Okay, we'll try to find it, and then we can send it out when we send out the recording.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Ben? Okay, folks, if you have any questions, you can always email me or any of our TA staff, and we can reach out to Ben. His information is also on the NEMSIS website. We will get this recording up as we usually do within the next day or so. And you can always check out our website. It'll be hosted there along with any other archive tech talks that we've facilitated in the past. I do want to thank Ben for his time today and sharing his knowledge around navigating the NEMSIS Cube. We do appreciate it. One last comment is that we are gonna pause Tech Talks for the next couple months. As you all know, we have a lot going on. So we wanna pause for a little bit, and we'll be resuming in 2022. So thank you all for your participation today, and I wish you all the best with the closing of the NPRP assessment. And also, we look forward to seeing all of you at the grantee meeting next week. Thank you all.